Hey YouTube, Keter here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard, Dragontree, Keter Sanctuary deck profile. This is the fourth version of the Dragontree deck that I will be making, this one covering Keter Sanctuary. The last one to build will be Dark States, so definitely look forward to that. But the Keter Sanctuary definitely has an immense pressure buildup since we have an overtrigger that can provide drive checks to the rear guards. So on top of being able to restand those rear guards, they will also be, providing drive checks as well. And with us being able to have a grade 10 Vanguard, we're also able to call grade 4 rear guards in the form of Bastion Prime, giving us triple drive for those drive checks as well, just leading to a very scary final play that this deck can provide. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, our starter is still the Griffo Cid. This is the card that provides the trigger lineup for our deck, being able to give us the order for the calamities to set onto this card during each passing turn, having the overtrigger in the ride deck as well for us to use. So for our calamity cards, we have Beginning of the End, and then Ill Omen, Transmogrification, and Coming of Demise, with our overtrigger being Light Dragon Deity of Honors, or Martinoa. This card has the option until end of turn. You also perform drive checks for battles your rear guard attack. So depending on our rear guard, we can hit for some pretty insane numbers, since Bastion Prime could be one of our rear guards having triple drive. So on top of being able to restand our rear guards again, you have those triple drive attacks to look out for as well for your opponent. For the main deck, we are running 4 copies of Dragontree of Ecliptic Decimation, Griffogilla, with this card being the plus 5,000 power for each Dragontree marker on your rear guard. If you have 3 or more, it gets critical +1, and on Vanguard, once per turn when this unit attacks a Vanguard, choose a face-up Calamity card from your ride deck, which you place there after having the 3 placed in Soul, thanks to Griffo Cid, and when you have no more, you activate the power of your Overtrigger. So then you restand all your rear guards and have them gain the additional drive check power. So very, very scary having the Persona Ride on top of what your Griffogilla can do. Our next unit is the grade 4 Bastion Prime. You really don't need to do anything with its Vanguard skill. It is in the deck mainly so you can have a rear guard with potential triple drive. So you'll want to save Bastion Prime for the end when you're about to go into the attacks with your Griffogilla and the Overtrigger, so you can call these cards and have rear guards that can provide triple drive against your opponent, since you give drive checks to your rear guards as well. For the grade 3s, we are running 3 copies of Knight of War Damage Fasado. This card can just provide more of a soul charge buildup, since a lot of cards in this deck do need more of a soul blast power to, gain abilities for us to use, and just be countercharged so we can make up for some of the counterblast that we'll use with our Dragontree Wretch, Solda Sakab, and its power to be able to give us a Dragontree marker and to also draw a card when we call a rear guard in the same column as it. We are also running 3 copies of Decisive Axe Dragon. I've been testing out this card, and I definitely do like it. During the battle that this unit attacks, if your Vanguard rode this turn by a card ability, your opponent cannot call normal units from the guard circle to hand. So the card ability comes into the form of Griffo Cid, since you can place your Griffogilla after you have the 3 cards in your soul. So then if you set up your Decisive Axe Dragon, you could have a potential rear guard that your opponent will either have to guard with trigger power, which you can easily build up the power of this card with the Dragontree markers on the rear guard. So if you get a critical trigger on top of it, this is an attack that your opponent will have to take, so they'll more than likely guard the Griffogilla and take this attack regardless, hitting them up for some damage that you can later add on to the pressure with some of your other units, since they already had to take this potential hit from your card. We also run the 4 copies of Heavenly Pike of Solicitation Cornbach. This gives us more of a search power, since it says Soul Blast 1, rest this unit, and then look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 3 or greater unit with a different card name from this card, and call it to rear guard, put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. We run a good number of grade 3s to rely on, including the Decisive Axe Dragon, the Fosados, and also the Bastion Primes. Last scenario, you could also call Griffogilla, since it just says top 3 cards and choose 1 grade 3 or greater card. So you could potentially call Griffogilla to rear guard as well. You would be missing out on the Persona Ride, but it is a viable target for you to use with Cornbach. And Also, we are running 4 copies of the Dragontree Wretch of Solda Sakab. I have the 1 placeholder with the Draco Batical, but this card, when placed on rear, you +1, choose one of your rear guards without any Dragontree markers and put a Dragontree marker. And from the back row rear guard, once per turn, when your rear guard is placed in front of the same column as this unit, +1 and draw a card. So just hand consistency for the use of a counterblast. You can easily make those counterblasts up with the potential attacks that Fosato can use when this unit attack hits. Fosato even just has to attack a rear guard, and you'll get the counter charge and the soul charge thanks to it. With our other grade 1s in the deck being 4 copies of Painkiller Angel. Now, I know the soul is a touchy thing to utilize in this deck. We have the Kornvok for the Soul Blast power, and also the use of our Painkiller by giving us draw power and an additional boost that this card can provide. Cards like Solda Sakab don't need a Soul Blast, they need more of a Counter Blast, but all this just comes down to relying on using Fosato and also getting consistent Persona rides with our Griffogilla to be able to give us a soul power, but still making up for it in the terms that we used a boost and then a potential card to draw into our hand to use for the defensive play style of the Dragontree Griffogilla deck. With the last of the grade 1s being 4 copies of Palladium Zeal Dragon, just the Sentinel of choice for the deck of being able to guard for a good number of cards against your opponent and then not having to pay the discard cost if you only have 1 or less card in hand when you place this card down on the guard circle. For our trigger lineup, I decided to try and split up the trigger lineup as best as I could. I am running 4 copies of Blade Feather Dragon, just for the fact that this card does have a soul build-up skill, so I can put it into the soul, giving +2 to something else, and then also have the Soul Blast power for cards like Painkiller Angel and Kornvok as well, and 2 additional copies of White Fang Witch Disma. Like I said, I wanted to go for more of a defensive trigger lineup along with the copies of the criticals that I'm running. I'm also running 5 front triggers, so 4 copies of Bard of Heavenly Song Alpaca for the fact that this card also has a +5 shield, and 1 additional copy of White Crow Sorcerer Taxis for the additional pressure that the front triggers can provide when my rear guards are attacking also. And for the heal lineup, 2 copies of Palpitation Angel, 1 copy of Tear Sorceress, and 1 copy of Invigorate Sage, since the new heal doesn't really provide much in terms of shield power, since most of the time we will be at a grade 10 Vanguard when utilizing our plays. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Like I said, this is the 4th deck in the lineup for the Dragontree Griffogilla that I have made, with the last one having to be the Dark States version that'll utilize more of the soul buildup that we can provide for some of the more generic cards in the deck. And then we'll finally have gone through all 5 of them until we get more support in set 10 for the Dragontree decks. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.